Hello and welcome to the 160th episode of Scripture in a Year, hosted by Saints Peter and Paul Orthodox Church in the Albanian Archdiocese of the OCA. Today's reading is from the book of Proverbs, chapters 13 to 16. An astute son is obedient to his father, but a disobedient son is for destruction. A good man eats from the fruits of righteousness, but the souls of the lawless will destroy themselves before their time. He who guards his mouth keeps his own soul, but he who is hasty with his lips will dismay himself. Every idle man has desire, but the hands of the courageous are diligent. A righteous man hates an unrighteous word, but an ungodly man is ashamed and will not have confidence. Righteousness guards the simple, but sin makes the ungodly worthless. There are those with nothing who make themselves rich, and there are those, though very rich, who humble themselves. The ransom of a man's soul is his own wealth, but the poor man does not withstand a threat. Light is with the righteous continually, but the light of the ungodly is extinguished. Deceitful souls are led astray in sins, but the righteous have compassion and are merciful. An evil man does evil things with arrogance, but those who know themselves are wise. Property hastily gained with lawlessness becomes diminished, but he who gathers for himself with godliness will be increased. A righteous man has compassion and lends. A man who begins to give aid heartily is better than he who only promises and leads another to hope. A good desire is a tree of life. He who despises a matter will be despised by it, but he who fears the commandment, this man is in good health. To a deceitful son there shall be nothing good, but for a wise servant his deed shall be prosperous, and his way shall be led aright. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, but the man without understanding will die by a snare. A good understanding gives grace, and to know the law is to be of a good mind, but the ways of scorner are destructive. Every astute man acts with knowledge, but the man without discernment spreads out his own evil. A rash king falls into evil things, but a faithful messenger rescues him. Instruction removes poverty and dishonor, and he who gives heed to rebukes will be glorified. The desires of the godly gladden the soul, but the works of the ungodly are far from knowledge. He who walks with the wise shall be wise, but he who walks with those without discernment will be known. Evil things shall pursue sinners, but good things will overtake the righteous. A good man will inherit sons of sons, but the wealth of the ungodly will be stored up for the righteous. The righteous shall live in wealth many years, but the unrighteous will be destroyed suddenly. He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him instructs him with care. A righteous man eats and satisfies his soul, but the souls of the ungodly are in want. Wise women build houses, but those without discernment destroy them with their hands. He who walks uprightly fears the Lord, but he who is crooked in his ways will be dishonored. From the mouth of a man without discernment comes a rod of arrogance, but the lips of wise men guard themselves. Where there are no oxen, the stalls are clean, but where there are abundant crops, the strength of an ox is evident. A faithful witness does not lie, but an unrighteous witness kindles lies. You will seek wisdom in the company of evil men, and you will not find it. But perception is easily found with the discerning. All things are contrary to a man without discernment, but the weapons of perception are wise lips. The wisdom of astute men will know their ways, but the folly of men without discernment is in their deceit. The houses of the lawless are due for purification, but the houses of the righteous are acceptable. If the heart of a man is controlled by feelings, his soul is sorrowful, but when he rejoices, it is not mingled with arrogance. The houses of the ungodly will be destroyed, but the tents of the upright shall stand. There is a road that seems to be right with men, but the ends of it reach into the depths of Hades. Sorrow does not mingle with gladness, but in the end this joy turns to sorrow. A bold-hearted man will be filled with his own ways, but a good man with all his thoughts. A simple man believes in every word, but an astute man comes to repentance. A wise man fears and turns away from evil, but a man without discernment persuades himself to mingle with a lawless man. A quick-tempered man acts with recklessness, but a man with discernment bears many things. Men without discernment will share in evil, but the astute will take hold of perception. Evil men will slip and fall in the presence of good men, and the ungodly shall serve at the gate of the righteous. Friends will hate poor friends, but the friends of the rich are many. He who dishonors the poor sins, but he who has mercy on the poor is very blessed. Deceivers devise evil things, but good men devise mercy and truth. Devisers of evil things do not understand mercy and faithfulness, but the mercies and faithfulness are with devisers of good things. To every one who is careful there is an abundance, but he who is pleasure-taking and slothful shall be in want. The crown of the wise is astuteness, but the pastime of the undiscerning is evil. A faithful witness will rescue a soul from evil men, but a deceitful man kindles lies. In the fear of the Lord there is hope of strength, and to his children there remains support. The command of the Lord is a fountain of life, for it causes one to turn from the snare of death. The glory of a king is in a large nation, but the destruction of a ruler is in a lack of people. A long-suffering man is strong in discernment, but the faint-hearted man is strongly without discernment. A man with a gentle spirit is a healer of the heart, but a sensual heart is the moth of the bones. He who oppresses the poor provokes his Maker, but he who honors him has mercy upon a poor man. In his evil, an ungodly man will be rejected, but a righteous man has confidence in his own holiness. There is wisdom in the good heart of a man, but wisdom is unknown in the heart of those without discernment. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sins diminish tribes. A wise servant is acceptable to a king, and by his own versatility he removes dishonor. Wrath destroys even men of discernment, but a humble answer turns away anger, and a grievous word stirs up wrath. The tongue of the wise understands good things, but the mouth of those without discernment proclaims evil things. The eyes of the Lord are in every place. They keep watch over both the evil and the good. The healing of the tongue is a tree of life, and the one who guards it will be filled with the Spirit. A son without discernment treats the instruction of his father with contempt, but the one who guards his commandments is more astute. In abundant righteousness there is much strength, but the ungodly shall utterly perish from the earth. In the houses of the righteous there is much strength, but the fruits of the ungodly shall perish. The lips of the wise are bound by perception, but the hearts of those without discernment are not safe. The sacrifices of the ungodly are an abomination to the Lord, but the prayers of the upright are acceptable with him. The ways of the ungodly are an abomination to the Lord, but he loves those who pursue righteousness. The instruction of the simple is known by those who pass by, but those who hate reproofs will die shamefully. Hades and destruction are manifest before the Lord. How can the hearts of men not be also? An uninstructed man will not love those who reprove him, and he will not keep company with the wise. When one's heart is glad, his face is cheerful, but when it is in grief, his face is sad. The upright heart seeks perception, but the mouth of the uninstructed will know evil things. The eyes of evil men are waiting for evil things all the time, but good men are at rest continually. Better is a small portion with the fear of the Lord than great treasures with lack of fear. Better is a dinner of herbs with friendship and grace than a fatted calf with hostility. An angry man stirs up contention, but a long-suffering man even calms the rising quarrel. A long-suffering man will extinguish condemnations, but the ungodly man stirs up more. The ways of idle men are strewn with thorny plants, but the thorny plants of the courageous are worn smooth. A wise son gladdens a father, but a son without discernment treats his mother with contempt. The paths of one without understanding are in need of discernment, but a man with discernment walks uprightly. Those not honoring counsels defer their deliberations, but counsel remains in the hearts of those who resolve to do it. The evil man will not obey counsel, nor will he speak anything appropriate, even something for the common good. The thoughts of a wise man are his ways of life, that he might turn aside and be saved from Hades. The Lord will destroy the houses of the arrogant, but he will strengthen the boundary of a widow. The thinking of the unrighteous man is an abomination to the Lord, but the words of the holy are sacred. He who receives bribes utterly destroys himself, but he who hates the receiving of bribes saves himself. Sins are cleansed by almsgiving and faithfulness, and by the fear of the Lord everyone turns aside from evil. The hearts of the righteous care about faithfulness, but the mouth of the ungodly answers evil things. The ways of righteous men are acceptable before the Lord, and through them even enemies become friends. God is far from the ungodly, but he hears the prayers of the righteous. Better is a small yield with the righteous than abundant fruits with the unrighteous. Let the heart of a man think righteous things, that he may make his steps straight under God. The eye that beholds good things gladdens the heart, but a good report enriches the bones. He who rejects instruction hates himself, but he who gives heed to reproofs loves his soul. The fear of God is instruction and wisdom, and the beginning of glory will respond to it. All the works of the humble are evident before the Lord, but the ungodly will be destroyed in the evil day. Every high-hearted man is unclean before the Lord, and he who joins hands with the unrighteous will not go unpunished. The beginning of a good way is to do righteous things, and this is more acceptable to God than to offer sacrifices. He who seeks the Lord will find knowledge with righteousness, and those who seek him rightly will find peace. All the works of the Lord are with righteousness, but the ungodly man is kept for an evil day. There is an oracle on the lips of a king, and his mouth does not err in judgment. The weight of a scale is righteousness before the Lord, for his works are righteous standards. He who does evil things is an abomination to a king, for the throne of a ruler is prepared with righteousness. Righteous lips are acceptable to a king, and he loves upright words. The wrath of a king is a messenger of death, but a wise man will appease him. The son of a king is in the light of life, and those acceptable to him are as a cloud of the latter rain. The abodes of wisdom are more to be chosen than gold, and the abodes of discernment are more to be chosen than silver. The paths of life turn away from evil, and the ways of righteousness are length of life. He who receives instruction shall be in good things, and he who heeds rebuke shall become wise. He who guards his own ways shall keep his own soul, and he who loves his life shall use his mouth sparingly. Arrogance goes before destruction, and folly before a fall. A gentle mind with humility is better than he who divides spoils with the arrogant. A man wise in his deeds is a discoverer of good things, but he who trusts in God is the most blessed. Men call the wise and understanding worthless, but those pleasing in speech will increase in understanding. Understanding is a fountain of life to those who possess it, but the instruction of those without discernment is evil. The heart of a wise man shall understand the things from his own mouth, and he shall carry knowledge upon his lips. Good words are a honeycomb, and their sweetness is a healing of the soul. There are ways that seem right to a man, however their ends look to the depths of Hades. A man labors diligently for himself, and expels destruction from himself. However, a perverse man carries destruction on his lips. A man without discernment digs up evil things for himself, and stores up fire on his own lips. A perverse man spreads evil things like a torch of deceit, kindles evils, and separates friends. A lawless man makes a trial of friends, and leads them in ways not good. A man sets his eyes to calculate perverse things, and determines every evil thing with his lips. This man is a furnace of wickedness. Old age is a crown of dignity, but it is found in the ways of righteousness. A patient man is better than a strong man, and he who controls his temper is better than he who captures a city. All evil things come into the bosoms of the unrighteous, but the righteous things come from the Lord. Here ends the reading for today.